When we think about marketing, we usually picture flashy ads or catchy jingles, right? But the truth is, it's so much more than that. It's really a deep dive into the human mind, a pretty fascinating mix of science, art, and psychology. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at the hidden forces that actually guide what we buy.
And that brings up a really big question. Maybe one you haven't thought about much. Are your choices really your own? It turns out that a lot of our purchasing decisions are shaped by these powerful, often totally invisible psychological factors that we don't even notice are at play.
So let's do it. Let's explore those unseen forces. We're about to dive into the specific psychological tools that modern marketing uses, not just to get your attention, but to actually influence your behavior.
And the best place to start is with the basics, your brain. So in this first section, we're going to look at the chemical reactions that are literally happening inside your head when you come across a brand. This is the real science behind the sale.
To do that, we got to look at the technical stuff. We're talking about neurotransmitters. Think of them like your brain's chemical messengers. They're what create these really strong emotional reactions that powerfully and often unconsciously affect our actions.
So, first up is dopamine. You've probably heard of this one. It's often called the reward hormone. It's responsible for that rush of pleasure and motivation you feel when you think you're about to get something good. It's the little chemical in your brain that makes you go, ooh, I want that.
So how do brands trigger this? Well, have you ever felt that little thrill from a limited time offer? That's dopamine. A truly brilliant example of this was when Volkswagen turned a simple bottle recycling bin into a full-on arcade game. And get this, people loved it. They deposited nearly 100 bottles in one night, when usually the bin would only get about 2. Why? Because the simple act of scoring points, even if they're worthless, gives us that satisfying dopamine hit.
Okay, next up, we have oxytocin. This is the bonding hormone. It's what creates those feelings of trust, connection, and loyalty. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when you find your tribe. And for brands, this is absolutely crucial for building a lasting, loyal community.
And then, on the flip side, there's cortisol. This is the stress hormone. When you feel threatened in any way, financially, socially, you name it, your body releases this stuff, creating fear and insecurity. It's our fight-or-flight response. And marketers can trigger it to create urgency or to sell their product as the solution to your anxiety.
So that's what's happening inside our individual brains. But here's the thing. We don't make decisions in a vacuum, right? We're social creatures, and we are heavily influenced by the crowd. So let's look at some of the powerful social triggers marketers use.
A classic and, frankly, pretty shocking illustration of this is the famous Milgram experiment from back in the 1960s. In the experiment, volunteers were told by an authority figure, this researcher in a lab coat, to give what they believed were painful electric shocks to another person. The results were just staggering. A full 65% of the volunteers followed the authority figure's instructions all the way to the end, even when they were clearly distressed and thought they were causing someone extreme pain. It just reveals this incredibly deep-seated obedience to authority that we all have, and that is a powerful tool.
Another really powerful trigger is something called reciprocity. This is a simple one, but it's hardwired into us. It's that very human urge to give something back when you've received something. It's a fundamental part of how we build social bonds.
And of course, brands use this constantly. Think of a free sample at the grocery store, or loyalty points, or just someone providing you with exceptionally good service. These little acts create this psychological need to give back. And usually, that means making a purchase. The return on these small gestures can be absolutely huge. Our brains are wired with all these kinds of shortcuts, and another really powerful one is scarcity. Remember when Hostess brands temporarily shut down a few years ago? All of a sudden, a simple Twinkie became this super hot commodity. People were selling them online for hundreds of dollars. It's simple. We just desire things more when we believe they're rare or about to disappear.
Okay, so we've got our brain chemistry, we've got social pressure, but the most effective marketing today goes even deeper. It connects with our fundamental, very human search for purpose and meaning. According to the psychologist Jonathan Haidt, there are 5 core pillars to human happiness. We need to feel connected, we want to make a difference, we are drawn to goodness, we value reciprocity, and we believe in fairness. So, brands that can tap into these fundamental needs, they can resonate with us on a much deeper level.
And this is where things get really fascinating. Look at this comparison between religion and the Apple brand. Just think about the core tenets of religion for a second. You have symbolism, sensory appeal,
promises, a community, and rituals. Now look at Apple. You've got the iconic logo, the sleek design, the promise of innovation, this global community of users, and the very distinct ritual of going to an Apple store. The brand is tapping into the exact same psychological frameworks.
It really gets to the heart of what the psychologist Carl Jung wrote: faith, hope, love, and insight are given by experience. And that's a modern truth right there. We aren't just buying products anymore. We're searching for brands that give us meaningful experiences and support our life's journey.
And hey, the data completely backs this up. A full 71% of consumers today would rather buy from brands that align with their personal values. Purpose isn't just some fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It is a powerful driver of business.
But here's the catch. There's often this huge disconnect between what we as consumers actually want and what brands are delivering. This data shows what people value the most, like just getting a problem solved on the first try or getting a fast response, and how rarely brands actually deliver on that. This gap, right here, is a massive opportunity for businesses that are willing to genuinely listen and serve their customers.
So why is it so hard for brands to adapt? Or for us, as consumers, to change our minds about them? Well, a big reason is a concept called schemas. Basically, these are the mental shortcuts and ingrained beliefs our brains use to make sense of the world. And once a schema is set in your mind, it is incredibly difficult to change.
This data on GMOs is a perfect example. At one point, you had 88% of scientists agreeing that research showed GMOs were safe to eat, but there was this pre-existing public schema, a belief that unnatural means unsafe, and it was so strong that only 37% of the public actually believed the science. It just goes to show you that facts often can't compete with a deeply held belief.
So, we've seen how marketers can tap into our brain chemistry, our social triggers, and even our deep search for meaning. These are incredibly powerful tools, and that brings us to a really crucial final point. With great power comes great responsibility.
This kind of marketing psychology is all around you, influencing your choices every single day. But now that you know some of the secrets, the dopamine triggers, the social pressures, the purpose-driven stories, what will you see differently? And maybe more importantly, how will you choose?